You might have heard of solar radiation modification, sunlight reflection methods, solar geoengineering, approaches and ideas for reflecting a portion of sunlight to cool the planet. The Natural Environment Research Council, known as NERC, has funded a £10 million programme to do computer modelling around these methods and ideas, which, if deployed, could perhaps buy us time to resolve our net zero ambitions.
So in simple terms, they would reflect solar radiation back into space to try to cool the planet. They're not being researched as solutions, but as an emergency stopgap.
Technical term is the albedo of the Earth, is the reflectivity of the Earth. There are various ideas about whether and how it might be possible to change the albedo in some way. How much of the light that arrives to the planet goes straight back out into space and doesn't contribute to the energy accumulating due to greenhouse gases.
Pretty much everything that's going on in SRM at the moment is just research. Some of the techniques has been a lot of computer modelling, a lot of climate modelling, but they're all experiments, they're not deployment.
We are looking at a contentious area of science in which there is a lack of certainty amongst the scientific community as well as in the broader discussions on it. NERC and Sciencewise have co-commissioned this public dialogue at a pivotal moment when public views could really inform the future of SRM research. So we're engaging people around the UK and have asked our participants to really have reflected deeply on the science, the ethics, the governance, what's acceptable, where are red lines.
It should be completely independent research done by trusted organisations.
The word trust raises a question that I think we should explore right now as it's come up. What is a trust principle?
Just having everyone be able to talk and debate and just work out these things, I think it's so important. We don't do enough of it. You know, I'm in construction. I don't know a lot about these kind of real technical issues, but it's great that we can all come here and at least have a conversation about it. It's good to be asked.
We have a range of specialists with a range of perspectives who dialogue participants work with, ask questions of, and we have people who want research to continue, but others who think that we shouldn't use it under any circumstances, and therefore even researching it is a step too far.
There are a couple of main reasons for opposition. One of the big ones is that we shouldn't interfere in the climate any more than we already have, which I think is a fair enough viewpoint. We can cause a lot of harm, and we have done, but I also think it's kind of a sad view of humanity that we can only cause harm.
It's controversial partly because it doesn't tackle the underlying problem. On top of that, a worry is that if you think you have an emergency fallback option, does this change the urgency of reducing emissions?
It's a very sensitive topic. Some people fear that there is a moral hazard, that by doing research you would automatically not look into the actual solution to climate change. But then on the other side, some say that we actually have a moral imperative to do research on these technologies to try and prevent more catastrophes from happening.
It's one thing to explore it in a model, it's another thing to actually do it in real life, and that jump is quite significant. What we look at in my discipline, which is international relations and security studies, is the consequence of the fact that we don't have a singular global society. Do we still want SRM in a world that is not globally governed, not just a geopolitically fragmented world, but also one dominated by very uneven amounts of financial and political power?
I think initially I was very against any form of SRM because it's manipulating nature, and I think the focus should always be on net zero. However, I think getting the world to collaborate together on achieving net zero is going to be quite difficult. So I think anything that can give us more time in order to do that is something that should be explored.
I think you need to move forward, that's for sure. I know there are some risks, but there is always some risk there to take if you want to do some new approach. A lot more research still needs to take place to make sure it's safe for everybody and effective. We need to start doing things now, otherwise it'll be too late.
We could be 50 years down the line not having done the research, and then we realise, oh, we're 3 degrees of warming, we're going to deploy this without knowing the effects, hoping that it cools the planet, and then we do something bad. And if somebody else decides to go and do this, then at least we know what the impact of that is going to be. So the research is still important, even if the deployment is very different.
So, Let's just share what post-its you've got around the principles.
Just got that research should be led by governments and then private companies should be overseen and have to share results or research.
Yeah. So what would the led by governments look like?
It could be led by kind of your country's government, but then I think there needs to be like an overall global body.
So what I'm hearing here very strongly is transparency is a principle.
Education to the public is lacking. I think there needs to be more education in the public, and I think we should try and make sure everybody fully understands it. We need to educate the people. The public doesn't know what's going on, and they cannot force the government to do things.
National policy should be informed by what the people want. It's very invigorating to see that by bringing people into the room who are not scientists nor policymakers, they still ask the same questions that the scientists and the policymakers ask. And that's something that I've heard quite a few times, that we shouldn't be bringing this into the public because they don't have the means to understand it. But you see that they have very valid suggestions and concerns and questions.
I've been really impressed at the detail of the questions that have been asked, people who have been thinking deeply about what they've been hearing about. And I think that's given me quite a lot of hope of people who are saying, yeah, we really need to decarbonise, recognising that SRM is something that we would do in addition to decarbonising.
People are willing to listen to us, our opinions, and that they matter. You can't just rely on the professionals up high because it's affecting us. They need to hear our voice.
You can't just look at your lifetime only. You've got to look at the future generation. And I got short life left, but I just want to make sure I contribute as much as I can in my life.